The big, quiet room was full of soft afternoon light, and on the giant wooden desk in the middle of it all lay a little scrap of paper named Scribble. He wasn't a letter or a list or an important note. He was just a scrap, a small off-white rectangle with one slightly fuzzy edge where he had been torn from a bigger sheet. Scribble felt very, very blank. He could see other papers on the desk, a beautiful drawing of a smiling sun, a map with swirling blue oceans, and he wished, more than anything, that he could be something special too. He didn't want to be blank. He wanted to be a story. He wanted to be a picture. He wanted to be colorful. A gentle breeze from the open window made him flutter, a tiny, eager shiver of a movement. It was then that he saw them. Across the vast wooden landscape of the desk, standing like friendly giants, were 3 bottles. One was a bright, cheerful red. One was a sunny, warm yellow. And one was a deep, calm blue. They had shiny silver tops, and inside, Scribble could just imagine the magical liquid color waiting inside. If he could just get to them, maybe, just maybe, he could become colorful too. But the desk was a giant world, and he was just a tiny scrap. How would he ever get across? Scribble didn't have feet, but he did have determination. Another soft puff of wind rustled the curtains. This was his chance. He lifted one corner, then another, shuffling himself forward in a little papery dance. It was hard work. The wood grain felt like bumpy hills under his flatness. He moved past a giant, sleepy, cat-shaped pencil sharpener, its silvery surface reflecting his plain little form. On he went, past a towering cup filled with paintbrushes, their bristles smelling faintly of old paint and adventure. He was eager to reach those bottles, his whole being focused on their glowing colors. But then the wind stopped. Scribble lay still, halfway to nowhere. The journey was too long. The desk was too big. A feeling of being too small and too plain washed over him. What was he thinking? He was just a scrap. He couldn't become a beautiful drawing. He was meant to be blank. A tiny droop happened in his center, a little papery sag of disappointment. But then something wonderful happened. The big, friendly-looking artist who owned the desk walked into the room. The artist didn't see Scribble, not yet. Instead, the artist hummed a soft tune and reached for the first bottle. The red one. The artist unscrewed the shiny cap with a soft pop and squeezed a single, perfect droplet of color onto a porcelain palette. It was the red of a juicy, ripe strawberry, not a scary red, but a happy, exciting red. It was the red of ladybugs and big, shiny apples and the best balloons at a party. The droplet sat there, glistening, a little pool of pure joy. Scribble watched, utterly mesmerized. He had never seen a color so close, so alive. He felt a new kind of eagerness, a papery jitter of hope. Maybe he didn't have to reach the bottle himself. Maybe the color could come to him. He just had to be ready. He shuffled a tiny bit closer to the edge of the palette, his corner pointed toward that glorious red puddle. The artist picked up a thin brush, dipping the very tip into the red. The brush hairs drank up the color, turning a brilliant crimson. But then a single tiny droplet fell from the brush. It wasn't part of the plan. It was a happy accident. The droplet fell through the air, a little red jewel, and landed with a soft plip right on Scribble's corner. A warm, wonderful feeling spread through Scribble. It wasn't a wet feeling, but a feeling of becoming. Where the droplet landed, he was no longer blank. He was transformed. He was a bold, beautiful strawberry red. He felt a stroke of magic, a single line of pure potential painted right onto his surface. He wasn't just a scrap anymore. He was a scrap with a red mark. Oh, what a wonderful feeling. Scribble wanted to do a papery flip, but he stayed still, savoring the moment. He had a color, but he wanted more. He looked eagerly over at the other 2 bottles, the sunny yellow and the calm blue. If one color felt this magical, what would 3 feel like? The artist was now cleaning the red brush in a jar of water, making the water swirl with pink clouds. Then, the artist reached for the next bottle, the yellow one. The cap twisted off and another droplet was squeezed out. This one was the yellow of a baby chick's fluffy feathers. It was the yellow of the happy warm sun in the drawing on the desk. It was the color of sweet, creamy butter and dancing daffodils. It was a friendly, cheerful, hello sunshine kind of yellow. The artist selected a fatter brush this time, dipping it into the sunny puddle. The brush grew heavy with yellow goodness. And just like before, a tiny, generous drop escaped. It tumbled down, 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 and landed right in the center of Scribble's plainness, right next to the red stroke. Zing! A new feeling zipped through Scribble. This one was bright and cheerful, like a little burst of laughter. Now he had two colors, a red stroke on his corner and a bright yellow circle in his middle. He was becoming a collection of happy accidents. He was becoming a drawing. But one color was still missing, the most calming color of all, the blue. Scribble waited, so eager he thought he might crinkle. The artist was finishing with the yellow, putting the fat brush away. Would the artist see him? Would the last color come his way? The artist looked around the desk, perhaps for a fresh piece of test paper. The artist's eyes scanned right over the cup of brushes, over the pencil sharpener, and then they paused. They landed on Scribble. But not on Scribble the blank scrap. On Scribble with his red stroke and his yellow circle. A smile spread across the artist's face. It was a smile of surprise and delight. Here was a little paper, already starting a story all on its own. The artist didn't see a mistake. The artist saw a beginning. This was the twist Scribble never saw coming. He wasn't just getting a random drop anymore. He was being seen. The artist's big, gentle hand reached down and carefully picked Scribble up. He was lifted high into the air, looking down at the vast desk from a whole new perspective. He wasn't a scrap down on the wood anymore. He was a project in the making, held gently in the artist's fingers. Then, the artist reached for the last bottle, the blue one. The cap was removed. This droplet was the blue of the deepest, quietest part of the sky just before bedtime. It was the blue of a forget-me-not flower's delicate petals. It was the calm, cool blue of a gentle stream trickling over smooth stones. It was a peaceful, dreaming lullaby blue. The artist took a brand new brush, the finest one yet, and dipped it into the blue. This time, no drop fell by accident. This time, it was on purpose. The artist held Scribble steady and brought the brush toward him. What would the artist do? The tiny, precise tip of the brush touched Scribble's surface. It was the lightest, most wonderful feeling, a gentle, knowing stroke. The brush didn't just put a blue blob on him. It began to dance. It swirled the red and the yellow together where they met, and right before Scribble's very edges, a new color appeared. A wonderful orangey sunrise glow. Then, the brush dipped back into the blue and swirled it with the yellow, and right there, a fresh leafy green color bloomed. Finally, the artist added a few pure blue strokes, connecting everything together in a beautiful, swirling pattern. Scribble was no longer a scrap with 3 colors. He was a masterpiece of many colors. He was a rainbow. He was a swirl of feelings, the excitement of red, the cheerfulness of yellow, the peacefulness of blue, and the magic of all the colors they made when they met. He had been transformed. He was not what he started as. He had reached his potential, not by himself, but by being ready and by being seen. The artist held him up to the light, admiring the happy little abstract painting he had become. Then, with a smile, the artist walked over to a big corkboard on the wall, a board covered with other special drawings and ideas. A shiny silver pin was pressed into Scribble's top, and he was placed right in the center of the board for everyone to see. He had a place. He was important. From his new spot on the wall, Scribble could see the whole desk. He saw the red, yellow, and blue bottles, his 3 friends who had helped him change. He saw the brushes resting. He felt the warm sun from the window on his new, colorful surface. He was no longer blank. He was no longer eager. He was content. He was a beautiful drawing. His dream had come true. And as the sun began to set, painting the real sky outside with streaks of red and yellow and blue, Scribble wondered what other adventures might happen on that big desk tomorrow. Perhaps a lonely pencil needed a friend, or a dry stamp needed a drink of water, but that is a story for another time. Moral: your potential is beautiful, and sometimes wonderful transformations happen when you are brave enough to start and open to the help of others.